Well, hello, folks. It appears that our service leader has left the room, so I'm going to welcome everyone here. Welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Reverend Cheryl Fair, and at Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. So we thank those of you who are watching on YouTube, whether you're watching live right now or later, and we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website, which is uofva.org. So for everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you can learn all about it, and you can subscribe, of course, at our website, uofva.org. So now I'm going to shift gears and move into our message for today. So welcome everyone who's here in the Zoom room with me right now. And those of you watching on YouTube, whether you're watching now or later, our broadcast date is May the 26th, 2024. And tomorrow is Memorial Day. So we're going to start off with a little bit of Memorial Day humor. Memorial Day is kind of a solemn occasion, but we'll do a little humor now, and we'll honor the solemnity of the day in our Zoom room later. So here's a little humor. On the Sunday before Memorial Day, the minister noticed little Alex was staring up at the large plaque that hung in the foyer of the church. The plaque was covered with names and small American flags. The 7-year-old had been staring at the plaque for some time, so the pastor walked up and said, "Good morning, Alex." "Good morning, Reverend," replied the boy, still focused on the plaque. "What is this?" Alex said. "Well, son, it's a memorial to all the men and women who died in the service." Soberly, they stood together, observing the plaque for some time, and then little Alex finally asked, "Which service, the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock?" So, all right. That's a little bit of humor to get us going today. So, as I mentioned, we will honor Memorial Day in our Zoom room after the message. Right now, we're going to focus on completing our theme for the month of May. So, for the whole year of 2024, our theme at Unity of Fredericksburg is well-being, and we have a different focus for every month. So, our focus for the month of May has been financial well-being. So I want to kind of do a review of what we've been doing this month and wrap it all up for us today. So we began the month talking about the principle of abundance. So when we look out at a starry sky or at a beautiful landscape in nature, it's easy for us to observe abundance when we think about that and think about the universe and about that which we call God. And we can observe abundance in ourselves when we think about our unending capacity to create more love, to tap into more ideas, to use more and more creativity. It's not like we have limits on those things, but there are a lot of things in our human lives where our brains identify limited quantities. So, in some ways we understand abundance, and in other ways our brain is like, no, you only have 5 of those. That's as much as you get. So we're kind of, wrestling with that all the time. So we talked about that at the beginning of the month. And then for those of us who were able to be in person, we did a day-long workshop called A Journey into Abundance, where our goal was to sort of spend some time in reflection in what I call kind of reflective questioning, trying to reveal what sort of blocks we have in our consciousness. And our consciousness, just to remind ourselves, is our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our attitudes. So we can have really deeply held beliefs that get in the way of us experiencing abundance in our lives, right? So we did some exercises to kind of reveal those. We were asking about things like our ancestors. Oh, my mother always said this about money. My father said that about money, and seeing how those things are still echoing in our lives right now. And money, of course, is one of the primary ways where we experience or don't experience abundance. In the workshop, we talked about prosperity, right? And we asked, what is prosperity? And we generated a lot of ideas about how that shows up through our health, through our relationships, through our sense of purpose. And I suggested a really simple way to kind of bundle up all of those ideas by defining prosperity as the flow of good in our lives, right? And we also in the workshop did what I call a personal prosperity inventory, where we looked at these different aspects of our lives and kind of decided, I'm feeling plenty of that. I don't feel plenty of this, so that everyone who was there kind of left with sort of a roadmap of, okay, clearly I need to work on this area. This area is feeling good. And the goal was to help people kind of identify some things that might be blocking their flow of that feeling of abundance. Now, on May the 12th, we kind of followed up on that by talking about one of the biggest blocks to experiencing abundance, as presented in this book, The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. Trying to get it so it doesn't glare into the camera. The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. And she identifies one of the primary blocks to experiencing abundance is all the beliefs that we are carrying around in our consciousness around scarcity. Now, this absolutely falls into that category of, it's not your fault, friends. The world teaches you this. The world teaches you this myth of scarcity, that there's not enough. It comes to us through media, through culture, through how our brains function, because our brain looks around and says, no, you don't have enough. Whereas our spirit is there in divine mind going, there's an infinite amount, right? So, but the key is, once you realize you're carrying around these patterns, these thoughts, then that's your opportunity to tidy up your own consciousness, right? To replace those limiting beliefs with new ones that serve your highest good, right? And we can refer back to scripture, to the words as Jesus was quoted as saying. So it's like, not like these messages are new, right? In John 7:24, Jesus says, do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment. So when our human eyes are looking out in the world and saying, not enough, not good enough, not as much as we need, that is appearances. And we're not meant to judge by appearances. So we have these wonderful practices in unity that we use that help us to manage our thoughts, right? So when we have a thought that comes up that goes, well, I don't have enough money for that, or there's not enough time for that, we brush that aside. Brush it aside. This does not serve me. I always think of, this kind of shows my age a bit, but I always think of the first Star Wars movie. These are not the droids you seek. Just brush it away. We don't see that, and replace it with, here's a really simple affirmation. The divine is my source. So realize that this, so brush it away, then affirm the divine is my source. If you like to say the universe is my source, or God is my source, not the government, not the paycheck, not the whatever. God is my source. So one of the things to realize is that this will likely be an ongoing practice in your life. Once you notice you're carrying around some not productive beliefs, it'll be an ongoing practice to tidy this up in your consciousness, because there are so many of those things that our brains are carrying around, these imprinted beliefs that we don't even realize are there. So be gentle with yourself, okay? And don't feel down about it when it's like, oh, I thought I was doing better, and now here I am again with this money issue or this relationship issue. Just do this gentle work of tidying up your consciousness, and just continue to do that, and continue to turn your focus to your divine nature and away from all those messages of appearances. Now, we talked about scarcity on May the 12th, and we followed that up with the next chapter in Lynn Twist, where she talks about the idea of sufficiency. So when we feel that need to have more, that wants to make us feel safe, we need to realize that that comes from a belief of lack. That, it's the pandemic. I need to go out and get a whole bunch of toilet paper because somebody out there said toilet paper is running low. That when you engage in that, that is a belief in lack, right? Sufficiency teaches us to be grateful for what we have right now. And when we do that, then we realize what we have is enough. And as we practice being thankful for what we have, whether it's sunshine or a flower or whatever you can come up with to be grateful for, then your brain gets in the habit of doing that, finding things to be thankful for rather than finding things that are not enough or going wrong, right? So you just practice that. Sufficiency, the energy of sufficiency, it doesn't have anything to do with the amount of money or stuff you have. It's about the relationship you have with the things in your life. Relationships themselves, purpose, health, time, and yes, money. So are you looking upon the things in your life and labeling them as not enough? Or are you looking at the things in your life and say, I'm really grateful for this, and appreciative for what you have, so you cultivate that energy of sufficiency. So last week, you all had the opportunity of having a wonderful message via video from Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett called The Audacity to Forgive. And this fits in perfectly with our theme for May, because one of the most common primary blocks to experiencing our own abundance is holding on to hurts and regrets and grudges and withholding forgiveness. So anytime we are holding on to things, holding on to resentments and that kind of stuff, we are blocking the flow of our own good, friends. So that message on forgiveness is key to that. And that leads us to today. So today, my title is Be the Flow. So we're going to finish up on this month's focus. We're going to talk about the number one key to understanding the flow, a little bit more about how your flow gets clogged up, and how we can move into experiencing the free and joyous flow of good in our lives. Okay? Sound like a plan? So that was our review. And now we're going to move into, this is what we're going to do today. So it's all about prosperity, right? Here's a quote from Catherine Ponder in Open Your Mind to Prosperity. You can open your mind to prosperity when you realize the true definition of the word. You are prosperous to the degree you are experiencing peace, health, and plenty in your world. You are prosperous to the degree you are experiencing peace, health, and plenty in your world. So it's all about how you are experiencing your world. It's not about the facts that your eyes tell you about how many you have, how much you have. what your past is, all that kind of stuff that your brain is always judging about. It's about how you're experiencing what is right now. It's not about the economy or the climate or the geopolitical culture. It's all about your consciousness, friends. Again, that's thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and attitudes. Now, our human brain is going to look at the outer world and say, well, this is the way it is. This is the fact. And your brain believes in separation. Your brain believes that I'm separate from you and we're separate from people that are different from us and all those kinds of things. Our brain buys into that. That's how our brain kind of manages and keeps us safe in our human lives. And when we talk about the flow of good, because our topic today is be the flow, many of us feel separate from the flow, right? If I could see a show of hands, how many times, do you feel separate from the flow? Like the flow of good is over there somewhere, and here I am because I'm only human, right? So we say we need to like get into the flow as if like there's something outside controlling the flow and we're out of it. We need to get into it. But let's just point out our divine nature, where the universe expresses at the point of us, understands oneness. And this is the number one key to moving into this awareness of prosperity, is understanding oneness. And on a certain level, we're talking about oneness with each other, but primarily we're talking about oneness with the divine, oneness with the universe, oneness with God, if you like to use that word. The truth of oneness shows us that we are the flow, right? Each one of us has the divine opportunity to manage the flow of good at the point of us in our little human lives. We're in charge of how the flow of the goodness that is God is managed. Each one of us has that privilege, that joy. The goodness we call God or the divine is flowing in and through each one of us. Your hands are the hands of spirit. Your heart is the heart of the universe. Your money is a tool for expressing the love of God. You get to choose. So the question is, how are you going to manage the flow of this goodness? Are you going to manage it being in service to beliefs about scarcity? Or are you going to be grateful for what you have and manage the flow in the spirit of sufficiency? Because you are the flow. In fact, you can't not be the flow. You are. It's not a question of are you in it? What you are it. So the number one key to experiencing prosperity is understanding this oneness. You're not separate from it. You are it. So be the flow with joy and gratitude. I want to share with you a story from the Soul of Money that is a wonderful example of this mindset. It comes from chapter 5, which is called Money is Like Water. And in this, our author, Lynn Twist, who has traveled the world and met lots and lots of people, she is telling a story from 1978 when she was working with an organization called the Hunger Project. And she was working on doing fundraising for the Hunger Project. And she was working with corporate leaders and local leaders. And she tells this story about her travel to Harlem. So I'm going to read it in two little pieces here. She said, here's the words of Lynn Twist. I met Gertrude in a church basement in Harlem, and it was from Gertrude, a woman most people would call relatively poor, that I learned some of the most powerful lessons I ever learned about money. It was from Gertrude that I learned that money is like water. I'm going to skip a couple pages and get to more about Gertrude. So she talks about she's telling this whole story about how she spends part of her day in these fancy corporate offices, and then she hops on a plane and goes to this community meeting in Harlem at a church where it's raining outside. There's water dripping in and being collected in cans, and she's got a room full of folks that she's talking about the Hunger Project. And afterwards, someone comes up and speaks to her. And this is Gertrude, this woman she's talked about. And she's quoting Gertrude. Girl, she said, my name is Gertrude. And I like what you've said. And I like you, she said. Now, I ain't got no checkbook and I ain't got no credit cards. To me, money is a lot like water. For some folks, it rushes through their life like a raging river. Money comes through my life like a little trickle, but I want to pass it on in a way that does the most good for the most folks. I have $50 in my purse that I earned from doing a white woman's wash, and I want to give it to you. So she goes on from there with this story about how she was touched. And you see the power of that understanding, that sufficiency, that understanding that Gertrude has, that she is the flow at the point of her. And it's her joy and privilege and responsibility to direct that flow and to be the expression of that flow. And she's choosing it to do it in that way. So this understanding of be the flow is it flows across all faith systems. I've got a quote that is credited as a Hindu quote from Swami Kiryananda. Sorry, I botched that so badly. Here's the quote. To attract abundance in your life, see money as a flow of energy, not a static quantity. See life in the same way as a flowing river, not as fixed patterns of behavior. Leave your ego on the bank and enter the stream of cosmic awareness. There are no limits to how much of life's abundance can be yours if you will plunge into the divine current and swim there joyfully. Ah. It sounds so easy. Wouldn't it be wonderful if it was always that easy? We have those moments of ease, right? And then we also have moments where we are stumbling, where those beliefs that we're carrying around get in our way, right? So leaving your ego on the bank and entering the stream is not always easy. Please don't be too hard on yourself. Let me just share a little bit about stumbling blocks. We've talked some about those this month. The most common stumbling block, as we've talked about before today, is judging from our human nature instead of judging from our divine nature. So here's a quote from Unity founder Myrtle Fillmore from How to Let God Help You. Your prosperity comes through you instead of to you. Your prosperity comes through you instead of to you. And if it seems not to come, that is because you have thrown up a barrier that prevents its unfoldment through your consciousness. It's all about consciousness, my friends. So what our ongoing practice needs to be is notice your words and your actions, see what shows up. And when you hear those words of lack, then do what you need to do to clean up your consciousness, right? Realign with the divine, and, do some work. The paycheck is not my source. God is my source. Now, here's another kind of red flag that shows you, oh, I am not in my divine mind right now. And that is the appearance and the use of the word but. All right. So you hear a lot this time of year. Oh, I love springtime, but all the pollen. There's a woman that I've known for a long time. Oh, I really, really would like to have an intimate relationship, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Or I really want to have a healthy body, but, so when you use the word but, my friends, you negate everything that you said before that word, and you affirm everything that comes after it. So notice when you are butting yourself, right? I want a newer car, but I don't have enough money. I want to travel, but, so I invite you to step into but-free living, right? Using the word but is just a habit, right? So, and it comes from that sense of dualistic separation kind of thinking, like the good's over there but I'm over here. So release the but and embrace both and, because you can do both and. You can work with your life on a human level and affirm your divine nature at the same time. It's possible to do both. Remind yourself most challenges that we experience in our lives are temporary, right? This too shall pass is something my mother used to say all the time. And, she probably got it from church or something like that. Just remember, folks, when you're having a bad day, you have survived every single worst day that you've had so far in this life. Yeah, you did it. So we don't need to be stewing in all the negativity. Instead of, I want to experience healing, but I inherited this condition. How about I lean into the support of prayers as I manage this painful phase, and I support all the cells in my body and thoughts and feelings held in consciousness as they express innate wholeness. So that's an example of doing both, supporting ourselves as we're going through the rough days, leaning into prayers, and affirming our divine nature. All right. So as we come towards the end here, I'm running a little long today. I'm hoping you're hanging with me. Okay. I want to review our helpful hints as to how to manage all this. And this comes down to two things: gratitude and giving, right? We talked about that in our workshop for those who were able to be there. So gratitude, the more you are grateful for what you have, the more you will find things to be grateful for. So start a gratitude journal, say thank you in your mind as much as you can. And when it comes to growing in experiencing prosperity, remember, there is actually a correct order, a divine order, if you will, in which to do things. From scripture, from Luke 6:37-38, in the words of Jesus: forgive and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Notice the order, my friends. It doesn't say sit and stew and wait for somebody to come and apologize and then forgive. It says forgive, and you will be forgiven. It says give, and it will be given unto you. It doesn't say sit and wait until you have a windfall of some sort and then give. It says give first. Give first. That's the divine order, right? So Eric Butterworth in Spiritual Economics says, you receive as you give. And if you would receive more, you can give more. You have complete freedom to choose, right? So your brain might ask, well, how can I give more of something I don't have? Well, we all have something to give in some form. And one of the kind of the magic things to remember about prosperity is that this is an open system. It's not a direct relationship. So in other words, if your brain is saying we don't have enough money, it's like, oh, how can I give money? It's like, okay, you can give in other areas. It's just the activity of giving, right? You can give your kind regard. You can give your thoughts. You can give encouraging words and thoughts about somebody you're having an issue with. You can give your expertise. You can give a helping hand. And if you can give money, right? So you just practice giving first and seeing how that does at untangling the tangles in your lives. And you can always go back, right? You just practice giving first, right? So 20th century prosperity classes in Unity very frequently featured tithing practices. Now, tithing is actually is very common in lots of churches. It's actually a practice that's based on an equation in the Bible that was actually about paying taxes. So we don't teach that in Unity these days. What we teach is generosity consciousness, which is what I keep talking about, working with your consciousness. However, that's not to say that there's something wrong with doing the practice of tithing. So if you're not in the habit of regular giving, then tithing is a good step to develop a generosity consciousness. And tithing involves donating a certain percentage of your overall income before taxes and bills and all that stuff. And doing that on a regular basis to kind of see how it feels. So give it a try. If you're not doing it, or if you feel like you need to expand your giving because you're really feeling a, restriction in certain areas of your life, just try it. See how it feels. You can always go back, right? It's a good way, tithing is a good way to practice a giving consciousness. Butterworth refers to it as kind of the training wheels on the way to riding freely with giving consciousness. Practice being the flow of generosity. So you do it for a while using an equation like tithing, and then you can trust yourself to take the training wheels off and just give freely. And remember that you're in charge. You have the privilege of guiding the good from the corner of the world that is you. So circulate the joy, the good joyfully, like Gertrude in this book. Money is like water. Circulation is what's important, the giving and the receiving. Any body of water needs to have both or it becomes stagnant, right? And whenever you're feeling stuck some way, something's got to give. So start with giving. So that's it for today, as we're going to move into our meditation in a moment here. So just to review, be the flow. The key is understanding oneness. Clear up your consciousness of those blockages. Embrace a but-free life, my friends, and give first. So now we're going to move into our time of meditation. So let's begin with a couple of deep breaths. And just quiet the mind. So many words here this morning. Let's just a few more words and then we will move into the silence together. So if you wish, you can allow your outer eyes to close. And your brain might have a particular issue that it's been bringing up to you during this talk, maybe about health or relationships or money. Just let those kind of bubble up for a minute. Let your brain serve up all of those, but this, but that. And thank your brain for reminding you of all of those things and just let them go. As the quote said, leave your ego on the bank. Step into the stream of generosity. See all your buts and concerns floating away in a gentle stream and feel yourself in the flow, being the flow. Now, if your brain still is struggling, it's okay. Your brain feels uncomfortable when you try something new, when you make a change, even if it's a good change. So just reassure yourself it's okay and be gentle with yourself. Remind yourself, Spirit is my source. And now let's move into a time of silence together, right here, right now. Now let's begin to bring our focus back to this moment, back to the body in the seat, the air against your skin, the light in the room, the ambient sounds. We're grateful for this time together, for the chance to sit in the silence together, even across the many miles that separate us physically. We are grateful. And we close our time of meditation with an affirmation. And I like to put my hand right on my heart space when I do an affirmation so that the words are grounded in my body and in my heart. So here's what I have to share with you today, and you can repeat it after me at home. All right. I joyfully experience a prosperous life, and I am grateful. Let's do it with me from home, folks. I joyfully experience a prosperous life, and I am grateful. One more time. What do you say? I joyfully experience a prosperous life, and I am grateful. That's it for me, folks. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm hoping that our service leader, Chris, is here and ready to go. There she is. I'll hand it over to Chris.
I'm back. Thanks so much for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again.